we present Bestsellers. Bestsellers, featuring great works by famous authors of today and yesterday. In June 1942, two German U-boats headed quietly into American waters, aimed at two isolated beaches. On board each craft was a team of 4 men, 8 specialists, primed for an audacious mission, codenamed Operation Pistorius. But neither team knew of another passenger with an even greater mission that could shake the world. He was the 9th man. The 9th Man. A chilling story based on historical fact by John Lee and dramatized for radio in 25 episodes by Victor Maxson.
Part of the building that morning, the 9th man walked into the White House press room and knew immediately that something unusual was on the go. The usual poker game had been abandoned. Photographers were digging expectantly through their gadget bags, arranging film plates and flashbulbs. Reporters stood in hushed groups, going over their notes, looking very odd indeed with their straightened ties and buttoned collars.
Hi. What's up?
Press conference.
Press conference? Where?
The Oval Office. Prexy sent word about 10 minutes ago.
Are we all invited?
It isn't exactly an invitation kind of thing. More like a command performance. Prexy likes to see the press every once in a while. When he calls, we jump.
But the Oval Office, isn't that unusual?
Nah, it happens all the time. He doesn't get around too well in that rubber-tired buggy, so we go to him.
I've never been in the Oval Office. What do I do?
Nothing. Just remember protocol. The old hands get the front rows. Hang back in the rear and take whatever space is available. If you haven't got a short question worked out, keep your mouth shut and let others do the asking.
What about...
Uh-oh. Look lively. There's Steve Early. Prexy must be ready. I've got to go. I'm one of the privileged front rowers. Just follow the herd. You'll be all right.
Say unequivocally that the Churchill visit was a great success. Now, as you all know, the rubber drive has been on for 2 weeks, but I'm afraid the results are far below expectations. Rubber, I don't have to tell you, is extremely important, particularly so since the Japanese have cut off 92% of the normal supply. I am now, therefore, extending the rubber drive to a total of 90 days. I have 1 or 2 rather interesting things to say.
The bomb, if it were ready. Small packet of high explosive with a quick fuse, perhaps hidden under the lip of the table, or tucked into one of the waste baskets.
Yes. In a few moments after you step out of the room. In a few moments, it would rip apart in a fiery explosion, obliterating the satin and damask, cutting everyone down. What havoc!
And so I think you will join me in heartily complimenting the FBI on their remarkable achievement in rounding up this gang of saboteurs and spies before they could even get started on their evil designs, their campaign of destruction.
Mr. President, if they are to be tried in a civil court, surely there's no guarantee that the death penalty will be assessed?
On that score, the Attorney General, Francis Biddle, is presently conferring with War Department officials on the feasibility of a military trial.
But, sir, the men were arrested as civilians. Doesn't that mean under the law they must be tried in a civilian court?
There is a precedent for trying them in a military court. The civilians charged with conspiring with John Wilkes Booth in the assassination of President Lincoln were tried and sentenced by a military court. This point is being considered. However, the decision on this matter won't be announced for a few days.
Hey, Carter, over here. Did you read the story?
Yeah, I read it.
Well, what do you think?
Well, it could have been anyone.
Yeah, maybe. But I talked to a man in Navy security right after I called you. The thief got away with enough explosive material to start his own war.
And you think it's our man?
It figures. He needs explosives. He lost what he had when your people picked the crates from the submarines. Now he has to start over.
Yeah, well, that's conjectural. We need something a hell of a lot more solid than that.
Yeah, well, we may get it. I asked the police to run a ballistics test on the bullets they took out of the Marine. If they match the one they dug out of that boarding house wall, then we really got something.
Yeah. How soon will they know?
Sometime today. A detective who's been helping me said he'd get to the military as soon as he can. He said not to be too optimistic, though. That bullet from the boarding house was pretty chewed up. In the meantime, I've requested an appointment with one of the president's advisors. Someone will probably agree to see us as soon as they can find an open spot in the schedule.
Us?
Yeah. I want you to go with me. You can answer a number of procedural questions that I can't handle. And we'll need all the credibility we can get if we're going to convince anyone that this is serious.
I can't do it. The word would filter back to the Bureau and nothing flat. I'd be out of my backside in no time.
How the hell can you worry about your job at a time like this? Look, if I'm right about this guy, who the hell do you think he's after?
Yeah, I know. The president. But you could be wrong.
Do you really want to take that chance?
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll go with you, but it isn't fair.
Come on, cheer up. You may help save the president's life.
Big deal. At least he isn't likely to lose his job. What the hell? Come on.
The ninth man had been busy shopping that afternoon, and on Sarah's kitchen table there was an assortment of purchases. Dry cell batteries, various corks, brass screws, a jar of glue, a roll of wire, a package of dried peas, a set of glass tubes, and 2 boxes of ball bearings.
First, cork to fit inside one of these test tubes. Just small enough and loose enough to float freely. That's it.
Then he attached a lead wire to it and ran it to a small electric bell.
Now, another cork, tighter one, to stopper the test tube. That's it. And hook to the other lead wire.
Then he constructed brass screw contacts for each cork, one top and one bottom, with the screw heads facing each other. With the mechanical work completed, he funneled dried peas into the test tube, just over halfway to the top. Measured water into the test tube until it covered the peas, and left a shallow layer on which the inner cork could float, brass contact downward. The 2 screw tips were about half an inch apart. Then he sat back to wait. "15 minutes passed. The dried peas slowly soaked up the water and began to grow, expanding gradually in the tight confines of the test tube, forcing the smaller cork upward. 30 minutes. The corks got closer. 45 minutes. Closer still. Then, 3 minutes after the hour, the brass screw heads touched, and the electric bell began to ring.
Good. An hour will give me time to set the device and get out of the building, past the guards at the gate and on my way. Tomorrow I shall arrange a receptacle that can be carried into the building without attracting too much attention. By Thursday, everything will be ready.
And that's about it, sir. Except the police called while we were waiting to see you. I'm afraid the ballistics test won't do us any good. Lieutenant Savage says they can't get any conclusive results because of the damaged condition of the boarding house bullet. But the two slugs were the same caliber and approximate weight. They could have come from the same gun.
So, you think this man may be in Washington to make a try for the president?
Yes, sir. I'm sure of it. Only I can't get the FBI to pay any attention to me.
I can see why. It sounds pretty circumstantial.
Then you don't believe me, sir?
I didn't say that. It doesn't really matter whether I do or not, does it? There's a chance you might be right, no matter how remote. We'll have to take steps to prevent it.
Yes, sir.
I assume you'll need help?
Yes, sir. I've been in contact with the police detective I mentioned, Lieutenant Savage, and he's been helping all he can, but he's pretty busy.
Have you filled him in on everything?
No, sir, not in detail. I've been leaning on my White House title.
Good. Let's keep it that way. I'll call the commissioner this afternoon and request continued cooperation as a favor to the White House.
Thank you, sir.
But I'd rather keep it low-key for the time being. No sense in setting off false alarms until we know for certain whether or not there is a substantial threat.
Anything will help, sir.
Special Agent Carter. I assume you've talked to the director about this.
Well, sir, I talked around the edges about it. He didn't seem too responsive.
I can understand that. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. We'll handle it as an in-house problem. I'll talk to John Calhoun to get the Secret Service plugged in.
Yes, sir. Do you think you could ask Mr. Calhoun to lend us one of his men to handle some of the legwork? I'm thinking of Jerry Fenton. He's the only one I really know.
I think that could be arranged.
And Special Agent Carter here. Could you request his temporary reassignment from the FBI to the White House? He knows more about police procedure than I do. I'm not sure I can get along without him.
Captain, I don't think
I'll put a request through channels as soon as we finish here.
Sir, do you think you might make a personal request? The director might look more favorably on it if the request came from an upper echelon office.
I'll call him myself, but I wouldn't count on his favorable reaction if I were you. He isn't going to appreciate the interference, no matter what level it comes from.
We're grateful for your help, sir. Will you keep us advised?
Is there anything else you need? A larger office? Clerical help?
Maybe a couple of clerks. Manpower is our biggest problem. I thought I'd ask Lieutenant Savage to forward copies of all police reports from now on. The thefts, burglaries, muggings, major crimes, anything unusual. It'll take time, a lot of people to plow through them.
That's a pretty tall order, Captain.
Yes, sir. I know. But most of our leads so far have come from police reports. And we don't really have much else to work on. We're operating pretty much in the blind on this. We've no idea where or when he might try again.
Well, whatever you think best. Is there anything else, Captain?
Well, yes, sir. There's one thing more. We had hoped you might ask the president to stay out of sight for a while, at least until we find our man. If you could explain the danger, tell the president about the explosives and the drawing of the railroad bridge.
Yes, I can do that. I'll talk to him this evening. I'll ask him to stay off trains for a few days. I'll convince him to stay here in the White House, where he'll be safe.
I can't believe it. Tell me you're kidding, lover. Harry Hopkins? You talked to Harry Hopkins?
It seemed a logical step.
Damn it, Andy, how How can you be so naive? It's one thing to pursue a will-o'-the-wisp quietly on your own, but to make a fool of yourself by going in to see someone like Harry Hopkins...
It isn't will-o'-the-wisp. The guy exists. He's out there.
We've been over all this. The FBI insists there is no ninth man. The Germans they've captured say there is no ninth man. Andy, what does it take to convince you?
They're all wrong.
And you're right? Hell, what a towering display of conceit.
I thought you agreed with me. I mean, Sunday up in Maryland, you said...
I was willing to go along with you so long as you kept it to yourself. What else could I say? You'd already made up your mind. But to spread it around like this, to go in and talk to someone like Harry Hopkins, damn it, Andy. Do you realize what you've done?
I'll try to do my job.
By making a laughingstock of yourself? Because that's what will happen when this gets around, lover. They'll all be laughing at you. Hell, why didn't you talk to me about it first?
Gay, you don't understand. It was a decision I had to make for myself.
Well, you certainly made it. That's the most selfish thing you've ever done, Andy.
What?
I'm very disappointed in you.
Selfish? I'm not sure I follow you.
Well, you know how I feel about that White House job. I worked my tail off getting you set up down there. I had plans for you. Now you blow it all with one simple dunderhead wrong move.
I happen to think I'm right.
Oh, well, that makes a difference, doesn't it? No, Andy, you bought yourself a one-way ticket to obscurity. You might as well kiss your future goodbye.
Well, it's my future.
Is it? And what about me? Don't I count?
Well, of course you do, honey. But how can't you show a little confidence? If I think it's worth the risk, why can't you?
Oh, don't be so dense, lover. I haven't spent the last 6 months working on your image just so you can go diving off the deep end. You think I want the town joke for a husband?
Husband? You do skip around, don't you?
I don't consider it skipping around. Why else should I give a damn what you do with your life? After all, that's what it's all about, isn't it? I've got my own position to consider.
You make it sound pretty cut and dried.
Are you telling me you never considered marriage?
Oh, sure. I've considered it. I just thought it was a decision we might reach together, that's all.
Don't be an ass, Andy. Of course we would have decided together. I'm hardly in a position to force you into marriage.
Yeah, I understand that. But I'm getting the idea we would never have reached the decision unless I measured up to some set of standards you've laid out for me. Isn't that what you're saying?
Let's postpone this discussion, Andy. We'll only end up saying things we'll both be sorry for later.
No. Let's talk about it now. A lot of things are coming very clear to me. That's why we did the bit with the weekend guests and the tennis and all the third degree, isn't it? A series of tests. What are we going to do, pass out ballots?
They're my friends. Their opinions are important to me. That's why I wanted them to know you, to love you. Is that so devious?
And if they didn't like me? You haven't answered my questions. Would that have ended it?
We'll talk about it later. I have to answer the phone.
No. Let Mattie get it. I want to know. Well, what about it? Couldn't you take me with my rough edges?
Oh, don't be so childish, Andy. You can't blame me for wanting you to be better. I'm a mother, remember? I have obligations.
Galen and I get along just fine. We always have.
Of course you do. And you and I get along, too. At least we used to. But something's happening to us, Andy. Ever since you got mixed up in this spy business.
Now, don't blame it on that. Let's get back to basics. You were just telling me how I'm not good enough for you. Andy Blasek, the Hungarian-American jerk. Just a nobody from Colorado with no background and no family to speak of. Maybe you'd rather save it for some guy with a pedigree like that rich tennis-playing creep from Philadelphia.
You sorry son of a bitch. You could have made yourself a hell of a future in this town, but you seem determined to throw it all away. You think I give a damn about your family history one way or another? Well, I don't. But I do care about your future. I don't intend to stick Galen with a father who's going nowhere.
Oh, now it comes out. That's been a sticking point for us for a long time, hasn't it? That political bull. You don't want a husband. You want a lapdog that's been to an obedience school. Well, I can't hack it, Gay. If I'm going anywhere with my life, maybe I want to choose my own road map.
So, choose it and go. I'm not stopping you.
Go? Gay, don't say that unless you mean it.
I mean it.
Gay.
What?
Let's not do this. Anyway, not this way.
You're the one who wanted to talk it out.
Well, what if we backed off and started over? Maybe we could find a compromise.
I suppose that's possible. Where would we start?
Captain, telephone call for you.
Tell them to call back, Matty. The captain and I have a powerful lot of talking to do.
The man says it's important. It's the policeman, Mr. Savage. He says the captain should come to the phone right away.
I better go down.
I think that would be a mistake.
The word was compromise, Gay, not surrender. This will only take a minute. Hello, Blasek.
Captain, the car dealer. We found the car dealer just a few minutes ago. He runs a place up in Vermont, just above T Street.
He remembers the car?
Yeah, the water-soaked bills did it just like you said.
Great.
The guy says a man came in over a week ago, bought a 39 Lincoln Coupe, and paid for it with water-soaked bills. He gave his name as Patterson. Raymond Patterson. Description fits.
Terrific. Did you get a license number?
He's digging out the documents now. I was just about to drive out myself, talk to him. You want to meet me?
Yeah, I'll be there. Look, it'll take me a few minutes. I'm out across the Maryland line.
I'll wait for you. This does it, fella. Hey?
Mm-hmm.
I'll put the number on the hot sheets tonight. May take 2 or 3 days, but if he's still in town, we've got him.
Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Well,
You heard?
I heard.
Well, it'll only take an hour or so. Then I'll be back. We can finish talking.
Don't bother. I'm going to bed.
Honey, we ought to talk this out.
We already have, Andy. There's nothing more to say. You can send someone for your things tomorrow.
Don't say that, Gay.
You'd better go. You'll be late.
Yeah.
That was The Ninth Man by John Lee. Adapted and directed for broadcasting in 25 parts by Victor Mackey. You have been listening to Bestsellers, featuring the masterworks of famous authors that have captured the imagination of the world.